What is going on, everybody? Happy draft day. Welcome to another edition of the Huddle Hub podcast. My name is Metal Mike, and we are getting ready for round one, night one of the NFL draft. This is a regular episode of the Huddle Hub podcast, and then we are going to switch gears at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and get ready for night one, round one of the NFL draft. I want to welcome everybody coming in to check out the stream tonight. Appreciate you stopping in. We are going to talk about the news going on in and through the world of football, and then we are going to do my final mock draft before we get ready for the draft. Okay, but I want to remind everybody right now to head over to all of the Huddle Hub podcast socials, TikTok, X, and on YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod to check out all the great content that we are putting out for you guys here at the Huddle Hub Podcast. I'm going to be alone tonight for this show and for the watch along, so appreciate everybody stopping in here. I'm just wrapping up some of my final preparations here for you guys to get you guys ready for the NFL draft tonight. But it is an exciting night, round one, night one of the NFL draft. Some teams, like some fans, like the Titans fans and the Giants fans, the Browns fans, the Patriots, the Jaguars, Raiders, Jets, Panthers, Saints, and Bears fans, you guys are excited. You're in the top 10 tonight, okay? Now, there's been a lot of rumors floating around that these teams, are shopping their picks to some of the teams in the late teens, late 20s. Some teams are up there trying to finagle their way in there, trying to get in there so they can get the player. A lot of talk about the Eagles making some trades to get up so they can grab Abdul Carter. The Jaguars, a lot of teams are shopping their picks before the Jaguars picks. The Patriots, Giants, Browns, Titans, they're sitting there saying, hey, does anybody want to come up and jump in front of us so they can get Ashton Jeanty? A lot of talk happening right now. We are about an hour and a half away from the first pick being put in, and the Titans will be on the clock, okay? Now, speaking of on the clock, I will be doing my final mock draft tonight before we get started with the watch-along, so stay tuned for that. But we got to get into the news, okay? That's what we got to get into here, and I'm going to put up the top 16, the first 16 teams making their picks tonight. Are up there for you guys to check out. I will switch that over in a little bit and give you the final 16 teams. But before we do so, we're going to get into the news that is going on throughout the world of football. Okay? So let's get into it. The news segment of the day here. First off, Travis Hunter. Okay? He is in the draft tonight, wide receiver / cornerback out of Colorado. He had mentioned that he wants to go to a team to where he could play both sides of the ball. Okay. Now, when you look at the teams that are in the top 10 that need a wide receiver and a cornerback, what's the team that stands out to you guys? Because to me, it's the Patriots. That's the team that stands out to me, is the Patriots. There is no other team in the top 10, scratch that, the top 5 that I see letting him play both sides of the ball. And that's just that. So I see Travis Hunter going at number 4 to the Patriots. I do. But he said that he wants to be drafted to a team that is going to let him play both sides of the ball. And right now, when you look at the top 5, the Patriots seem to be that team. They do. I got to fix my mic here. But that's the team. That's the team that I see him going to. But again, I'm going to do my mock draft later on, my final mock draft in about a half hour. So, let's see where Travis Hunter lands as far as my mock draft. In my final mock draft, there will be trades. Now, if you go over to the Huddle Hub Podcast Twitch channel, YouTube channel, at the Huddle Hub Pod, I did my mock draft 2.0. It is up there and it is ready for you guys to watch. It's also over on the X. Travis Hunter goes number 4 at the Patriots. Now, I'm not telling you that that's where he goes on my final mock draft. I'm just saying. I see him favored to go to New England right now. I do. But he wants to go to a team that will let him play both sides of the ball. And that's just that. Aaron Rodgers is in the news. He's not happy with the Jets organization. The Jets gave him a call last week, and they said, can you please come out to New York? We need to talk to you. And, well, I don't know if you guys seen the conversation with Aaron Rodgers over on No Free Shoutouts to the Pat McAfee Show. But on the Pat McAfee Show, went on there and pretty much told his story on what happened when he went out to New York. He thought that a 5-hour conversation was good, ended up being like a 20-minute conversation. So just imagine that. Just imagine going out to the team that you are basically currently still signed to. You are not released from them yet. Not until June. June 12th, I believe, is the official date that he is released. Unless he signs with another team. But just imagine that, going out to New York and them saying, look, how do you feel about playing football this year? And then them telling you we're going in another direction. That's nuts. The guy lives out in California, and you have him travel clear across the country just to have this conversation when you could have clearly did it over the phone. Why do that to him? I highly recommend everybody to go and check out his documentary on Netflix. I guarantee you will walk away with a different mind frame about Aaron Rodgers. Because I do. I have a different mind frame about the guy. I do. But I guarantee you will have a different mind frame about him. No questions asked. Okay? Some retired players coming out of the world of football. It's been 2 weeks since we've been on air here. So we have some retired players that are coming out of the world of the NFL. The most recent one is Tyron Smith, the offensive tackle from Dallas. He decided to make his retirement happen after, I believe, 12 seasons. So Tyron Smith is the most recent retired player. Patrick Peterson, the cornerback from the Cardinals. He did recently play for the Vikings, but he signed a one-day deal with the Cardinals so he can retire in Arizona. Teron Armstead, the offensive tackle, decided to retire. Julio Jones, wide receiver. And Jason Peters, the offensive lineman, decided to retire. So those are the most recent retired players in the NFL right now. I did hear that Kadarius Toney was deciding on possibly retiring to pursue a rap career. Okay, now I don't know whether this is a hoax, a joke, or if this is real. I have not gotten full confirmation on this, but as it's talked about right now, and the rumors I hear going around is Kadarius Toney is retiring to pursue a rap career. I don't know how real this is. I'm going to try and get more confirmation on this. But as far as I'm hearing, that he may be retiring from the NFL to pursue a rap career. So, as far as I'm seeing right now, and I'm checking confirmation, Kadarius Toney has refuted the rumors that he is retiring from the NFL to pursue a music career. So there we go. There we go. Refused. I just fact-checked myself. He's not retired. Okay. Brad Holmes, the general manager from the Lions, he did go out this week and say that if you are worrying about chasing draft needs, that you could get yourself in trouble as a team. Now, there's a lot of teams that go out there and they do chase their draft needs. The Eagles, they chased their draft needs last year, and look what happened to them. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean in the first 2 rounds, and look how successful that was. So I think Detroit right now has to really think about this, and the GM really needs to think about these comments, because that's what the draft is for. You chase your needs. You chase what you need to fill. Just like the Bears. They're rebuilding their offensive line right now. And I will sit here and say I think they're going to chase an offensive lineman tonight. Now, they are in the top 10, so is it going to be easy for them to get an offensive lineman? Yes. Especially when you look at the needs of the Titans and the Giants and the Cardinals and all the teams that are ahead of them. The Jets. Are they going to be able to get a lineman in the top 10? Of course. And they'll probably get a damn good one at that to complete. I think it's going to be Armand Membo. I think that's going to complete their offensive line rebuild. But who knows? Maybe they go after Will Campbell out of LSU. Maybe. But will they get an offensive lineman out of the deal? Yes. The Lions, Brad Holmes, I'm sorry, but as a fan, I'll sit here and say it. I think chasing your needs is half of what the draft is for, because that's what you got to fill. And if you don't have the capital, the cap capital to go out and sign a $10 million, $11 million, $15 million offensive lineman or whatever you need, the draft is there for you to do that. So you're chasing your needs. That's what the draft is half for, especially if you're in cap trouble. So Brad Holmes, you're 50% right, in my opinion. You may put yourself in trouble chasing your needs, but 50% of it is get what you need. Bottom line. Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado, the quarterback. He's in the draft tonight. Now, he has a couple landing spots that he's favored of going to. The Saints, Giants, Steelers, and Browns are the 4 teams that are favored for him to get picked. Now, the Saints are sitting at number 9 right now. Number 9 right now. The Giants are number 3. The Browns are at number 2, and the Steelers sit currently in the 21 spot. Currently. Okay? Now, could the Steelers trade up? They could. They could trade up and go get him. Now, if you want my opinion, I think Shedeur is going to fall down to 21 and fall right in the lap of the Steelers. That's just my opinion. If I was Pittsburgh, if I notice at least 2 quarterbacks before them go off the board, which I think will happen, then I would start thinking about trying to move up. But when you look at between the Saints at 9 and the Steelers at 21, all those teams really don't need a quarterback. Okay? The Bears, Caleb Williams. The 49ers, Brock Purdy. The Cowboys, Dak Prescott. The Colts, Anthony Richardson. The Falcons, Michael Penix. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray. The Bengals, Joe Burrow. The Texans, CJ Stroud. I mean, the Texans are further back. I'm looking at my mock draft. I kind of just gave away that I traded the Texans up again. So I think the Texans are going to trade up. But even if the Texans get in front of the Steelers, they're not taking a quarterback. That's just a given. But it's still, I think Shedeur falls down to the Steelers at 21. I don't think the Browns take him. I have another quarterback in mind for the Browns. If you go watch my mock draft 2.0, you'll see who I mean. And the Giants right now, they have Russ. But do I think they'll draft a quarterback tonight? Yeah, I do. I think the Giants pick a quarterback tonight. I do. Cam Jurgens from the Eagles, the center from the Eagles, just signed a 4-year, $68 million extension with Philadelphia. So he's going to be with Philadelphia until 2029. So Cam Jurgens locked up in Philadelphia for the next 4 seasons, actually 2030. So Cam Jurgens is a Philadelphia Eagle until 2030. Great pickup for the Eagles. Great sign for the Eagles. Great extension for the Eagles. Great way to spend the money. Thank you, Howie. Appreciate that. Keeping the offensive line intact and together for a couple years. Protecting Jalen. The Commanders, they announced that they're going to be building their new $3 billion stadium that is set to open in 2030. So they are going back to the old location of their old stadium and will be building their new one and is expected to open up in 2030. The Commanders need a new stadium. Their stadium is a shit show. Best way to put it. I've never stepped foot in their stadium, nor do I ever want to. I've heard the horror stories of being a fan in that stadium, and no thank you. I don't care how cheap concessions are. No thanks. Washington, when you build that new stadium in 2030, I'll come watch an Eagles game in your stadium. But until then, I will not be stepping foot in your stadium. Not happening. I don't care if WWE decides to do a WrestleMania in your stadium, which I don't think will fucking happen until you guys build that new one. But no thanks. Andrew Whitworth went on to the Cam Jordan podcast, and he had mentioned that he thinks that offensive linemen should have an award for the end of the year. Offensive linemen do not have an award at the end of the year. They don't. There is no offensive lineman award at the end of the year during the NFL honors. And he thinks that the offensive lineman, because you really don't have a statistic as an offensive lineman. You don't. There is none except holding calls and penalties. There's none. I'm with you, Andrew Whitworth. Let's get the offensive lineman an award at the end of the year. Why not? Maybe you keep track of protection stats. Every defense has a strong side and a weak side. Okay? So let's say, the left side is the strong side on a defense, and, the left tackle prevents a sack from happening. There you go. Safe sack. Or a sack save statistic. Why not? But I'm with you, Andrew Whitworth. Let's get the offensive lineman an award for the NFL honors at the end of the year. Jameson Williams from the Lions, wide receiver, and George Pickens, wide receiver from the Steelers. They both decided to unfollow their franchises on social media because of the trade rumors of tonight. There is a possibility that Jameson Williams and George Pickens could both be traded tonight during the draft or sometime this weekend. Now, mainly when we see big-time trades happening, it happens on night one because the number one, the first-round pick is there with the player, and a couple other draft picks get thrown in so teams can move up. We've seen it 2-3 years ago with the Eagles and the Titans. Titans wanted the spot the Eagles were in. Hey, we'll give you A.J. Brown, and we'll give you this pick and this pick for your spot right now. Bam, done. We've seen it happen. And most of those big trades happen on tonight. So could we see Jameson Williams and George Pickens both get traded tonight? There's a possibility. But this is also the night of the day of smoke screens. All those rumors go out there. This person could get traded. This person can go somewhere. All this stuff could happen. But it's also smoke screen. It's also rumors. Chitter chatter. Just to get teams thinking. It's a great mind trick. It really is. Taterhead, thank you for coming in tonight. Appreciate you being here on the Huddle Up Podcast. Checking things out. We are going to be here till probably midnight tonight because once at about 7:30, we're going to switch over to the watch-along version of the Huddle Hub Podcast. Right now, it's just a regular episode. We're going to talk about the news, and I'm also going to do a mock draft. And then we are going to switch over to just the Huddle Hub Podcast Twitch channel. So if you are watching on the YouTube, head over to the Huddle Hub Podcast Twitch channel, hit that follow button, and the watch-along starts at 7:30. I will bring everything up on the screen here. Now, I have been having problem with sound, okay? I'm going to try and get that figured out as we go through the night. If I can't, I'm sorry, but the draft will be up on the screen here tonight. Just to let y'all know. That's going to be part of the watch-along. So the Steelers plan to add 2 more quarterbacks. Now, there's been a lot of talk about them adding 2 more quarterbacks, whether they draft a quarterback or sign a quarterback out of free agency. They plan on adding 2 more quarterbacks to their roster. They are not letting Aaron Rodgers' decision, whether he wants to come to Pittsburgh or not, determine what they do tonight, what they do tomorrow, and what they do on Saturday. Or if they decide to go out and sign a quarterback on free agency. Good for the Steelers. I'm happy for them. I am glad that they are making the decision to not allow Aaron Rodgers' decision hurt them. No team should let any player do that whatsoever. Whether it's in the power of the team or the power of the player. Don't let it happen. Because then if that player decides to go elsewhere, and you wait too long, you don't get the player that you want or need. Don't let it happen. Good on the Steelers for not letting that happen. The Browns and Giants have received trade offers for their positions tonight. Okay? The Browns are at number 2. The Giants are at number 3 tonight. They have received some trade offers from some teams. Now, it is not disclosed on which teams it is that made them offers. So we don't know yet. But as far as as far as teams getting trade offers, the Browns and the Giants have both gotten trade offers for tonight already for their spots. Let's talk a little bit about the draft and some history of the draft before I start getting into my mock draft. Okay, my final mock draft. Okay, first off, the future NFL drafts next year, 2026, will happen in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So that is the site for the 2026 NFL draft. Okay. As far as some draft records going into tonight, the last 10 years, we've seen some pretty successful number one pick overalls, and we've seen some not so successful number one overall picks in the past 10 years. Okay, so let's start with 2024. At number 10, Caleb Williams was drafted, quarterback out of USC, drafted to the Bears last year. Had a pretty rough first season, but not too bad. You can definitely see that he did improve throughout the year. The Bears didn't have the best season, but you've seen some improvement out of Caleb Williams throughout the season. So in 2024, he was the number one overall pick. In 2023, quarterback out of Alabama, Bryce Young, went to the Panthers. Okay, Bryce Young, we've seen he struggled his first 2 years, but towards the back end of 2024, once he got benched and came back, you've seen improvement in Bryce Young. So that's why I don't think the Panthers are even thinking about a quarterback tonight, because Bryce Young is their future. And he's young. So there you go. At number 8, in 2022, defensive end Trayvon Walker out of Georgia to the Jaguars. And in 2021, quarterback out of Clemson, Trevor Lawrence to the Jaguars. So the Jaguars in 2021 and 2022 had the first overall pick, Trevor Lawrence and Trayvon Walker. Good picks, bad picks. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I think, is still up in the air. I do. And then giving him the contract that he got this past season, me and John talked about it a lot. I think it's a mistake. Honestly, I think the Jaguars should be going into tonight picking a quarterback. But instead, there's a lot of talk about them going after Ashton Jeanty, the running back out of Boise State. Now, I'm favoring Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty to go to the Raiders. That's my pick. But the Jaguars are in talks right now of picking up Ashton Jeanty. So, I don't know. But in 2020, Joe Burrow, quarterback out of LSU, went to the Bengals. In 2019, quarterback out of Oklahoma, Kyler Murray, went to the Cardinals. In 2018, quarterback out of Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield, goes to the Browns. In 2017, defensive end out of Texas A&M, Myles Garrett, who just got a big contract, goes to the Browns, still with the Browns, just got that big contract. One of the highest paid non-quarterbacks in the league. In 2016, quarterback out of California, Jared Goff, went to the Rams. And then at number 2, Carson Wentz went to the Eagles. Now Carson Wentz is nowhere. He was a Chief. And now he's not anywhere. And in 2016, quarterback out of Florida State, Jameis Winston, who is currently out in New York with Russ Wilson and the Giants, signed a 2-year, $8 million contract. Jameis Winston still going out of 2015. He's 10 years into the league. He went to the Bucs when he first got picked, had a rough go in Tampa Bay, and now he became a journeyman. I still think he played his best football in New Orleans. I do. Did he do good in Tampa Bay? Yeah, he set some records. But I think Baker Mayfield being out in Tampa Bay is going to end up breaking some of those records. As far as draft numbers for the weekend, the Vikings are the only team that only have 4 picks this year. Okay, that's it. The Vikings have 4 picks in the 2025 NFL draft. The Commanders and Falcons have 5. The Buccaneers, Steelers, Bengals, and Cardinals have 6. The Texans, Colts, Lions, Broncos, Bears have 7. The Titans, Eagles, Jets, Giants, Rams, Chiefs, Packers all have 8 picks this year. The Saints, Patriots, Raiders, Panthers have 9 picks. The Seahawks, Dolphins, Jaguars, Cowboys, Browns, Chargers, and Bills have 10 picks. And the Ravens and 49ers both have the most picks with 11 picks in the draft this year. So those are the draft numbers for this weekend. A lot of picks for two teams, the Ravens and 49ers. I expect them two teams to make some moves this weekend. Because if you're going to pick 11 players, I mean, the 49ers, I think they'll utilize at least half of their picks. So I think they'll make at least 6 picks this weekend. At least 6 with after what they did during the offseason so far. The Ravens, I think they'll trade away at least 7 and make 4, but they'll make at least 4 or 5 picks. I do. I think they'll use draft capital this year or try and get some draft capital for the future and trade away some of these picks. I do. So, but as you guys have been seeing the scroll on the bottom with the draft order for tonight, again, we are about a half hour away from the watch along. We are going to watch the NFL draft starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, I'm going to work on getting some sound coming through, but I can't promise it. But I'll still have the draft on the screen. So even if we don't have sound, we're going to have a screen. We could talk about the draft and everything like that. So, but yeah, if you guys can go follow all of our socials on TikTok, X, and YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. Okay. I did post my mock draft 2.0 that I did earlier this week. So you can go ahead and check that out right now. Make sure you hit the subscribe button over on the YouTube if you don't mind. And yeah, check out all the future content that we put out for you here on the Huddle Hub Podcast. But let's get into it now. I'm going to go ahead and do my final mock draft before we get ready. Okay, so bring up the mock draft simulator that I've been using. There it is. Now, if you guys are wondering if you are holding your devices straight up, like if you have your phone and you're holding it up like this, your best bet is probably to go like this so you could see this screen a lot better. Okay, I'm just recommending it so you could see the picks as I go. But in this mock draft, okay, and this is my final mock draft. This is it. The last mock draft before we go live at 8 p.m. tonight. I did 2 mock drafts. This is my third and final one for you guys to check out. So this is it. Okay. So with this simulator, I've grown to love this simulator. This is a great simulator. I love it. It's so much fun to use. And I'm only going to be doing 1 round. Okay. That's it. The first round. And that's it. I didn't want to bring that up. There we go. Only doing the first round. That's it. Now in this draft, we are going to have trades. Okay. So I do think teams will make trades. And I have the trades put together here. So, and you will see the trades happening as I do them. Just going to mark the ones that passed because I did attempt some trades and they failed. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's get into it. The mock draft. We're going to get started here again. Trades do happen. The Titans are on the board at number 1, and I think in my first 2 mock drafts, and I'm going to say it right now, I think they're going to do it again. They're going to do it tonight. The Titans are going to go Cam Ward at number 1, quarterback out of Miami. Okay? That's what I think. And it's a lock. I think Cam Ward is definitely going to be number 1 to Tennessee as their quarterback, and Will Levis will be probably traded tonight or traded somewhere down the road in the next couple weeks. But I think Cam Ward is the guy going to Tennessee. Now, this is my final mock draft, as I said. And at number 2, I have the Browns taking Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. I'm deadlocked on this. I think Jalen Milroe, he's not being overlooked. Is he being talked about? Yes, but you don't hear about him as much. I listen to a lot of talk shows, a lot of podcasts, and Jalen Milroe, is he talked about? Yes, but not a lot. Not a lot. I think the Browns are going to go out and take Jalen Milroe tonight, overtaking Abdul Carter. I do. At number 3, I see the Giants taking a quarterback. I do. And I think they go Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. Yes, 3 quarterbacks off the board right away. Right away. That's what I see. I see 3 quarterbacks off the board right away. You're thinking, where's Abdul Carter? Well, his draft stock didn't fall, but at the same time, these 3 teams right here definitely need a quarterback. Yes, Russell Wilson is out in New York. I get that. But how much longer does Russ play? How much? He's on his 4th team already, or 3rd team already. 4th team. Seattle, Denver, Pittsburgh, and now New York. 4th team. Okay? I think they bring in Jackson Dart. He sits behind Ross this year. He'll probably sit behind Jameis Winston next year. And then he becomes the starter in 2027. The Patriots at number 4. Now, I know I said earlier that I think the Patriots will probably go Shedeur Sanders, and I still stick with that, but they also need offensive line help. I have them taking Will Campbell out of LSU, the offensive tackle, in my final mock draft. I think they go out and get some offensive line help for their young quarterback in Drake May. I do. At number 5, the Jaguars are on the clock. They need some wide receiver and cornerback help, and I think they take the dual threat of Travis Hunter. I think the Jaguars allow him to play both sides of the ball. They are another team after the Patriots that I think will allow him to play both sides of the ball. There's a lot of talk about them going after Ashton Genty to bring in a running back, but they can also use help in the cornerback position. They can use help in the wide receiver position. I think the Jaguars go Travis Hunter at number 5. At number 6, he's been going to the Raiders in all my mock drafts, and I think he goes to the Raiders in this mock draft. Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State. He's going to the Raiders. I think it's a lock he goes to the Raiders. I do not think that the Jaguars take him. I think the Jaguars either go Travis Hunter or they go offensive line. But Ashton Genty will be a Raider by 9 o'clock tonight. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Jets are at number 7. I've been saying this for a while now. I think the Jets go Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. A lot of talk about this kid getting picked, going to the Jets, and I think it happens. I think he gets picked and goes to the Jets. At number 9, the Panthers, they need some defensive back help, and they're going to take the best one on the board. First cornerback, Will Johnson, out of Michigan. The Saints at number 9, they need some offensive line help. I think they go Tyler Booker, offensive guard out of Alabama. Now, I've said it. I've said it in my last mock draft, and I'm going to say it now. The Saints are going offensive line tonight. I don't think they go quarterback. I don't think they pull the trigger on going after Shedeur Sanders. And if there's any type of whisper of Shedeur Sanders getting picked by New Orleans, I think Pittsburgh throws everything at New Orleans tonight to get that spot so they could take Shedeur. I am deadlocked on Shedeur Sanders being in a Steelers uniform by the end of the night. I am. But other than that, if the Saints stick here, I think they bypass Shedeur, and I think they go offensive line because they do need offensive line help. Speaking of offensive line, the Bears. I think they take Armand Membeau out of Missouri, the offensive tackle. He's been my lock in all my mock drafts going to the Bears, and I think he gets picked by the Bears tonight. So the 49ers are at number 11. They need some defensive help. I think they go defensive tackle Mason Graham out of Michigan. Now, you're probably thinking, Mike, why would they not take Abdul Carter? They need an edge rusher. I think they go Mason Graham. I do. I think they go Mason Graham out of Michigan. I do. Don't worry, Abdul Carter's coming up soon. He's coming up soon, coming off the board. But first, we have a couple more picks that need to go out. At number 12, the Cowboys. They're going to be looking for a running back. They're going to take the next best running back on the board, Omarion Hampton, out of North Carolina. Now, my last mock draft, I had them taking TreVeyon Henderson out of Ohio State, but they end up all the way back at 32. So how they end up at 32 is the Eagles end up trading up to number 11 to the 49ers so they can grab Abdul Carter, and then the 49ers trade out of 32 up to 12 to get Mason Graham, but TreVeyon Henderson falls back into the lap of the Cowboys at 32. We'll have to definitely see if that happens tonight. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We'll have to see. The Dolphins are going to be looking for some offensive line help. They're going to take Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle out of Texas. I got the Colts taking Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. And then this is where our first trade comes in. The Eagles are going to come in and trade with the Falcons at 15. The Falcons need an edge rusher, and the Eagles are going to want to... Abdul Carter has made it known that he wants to be in an Eagles uniform. He does. I don't think the Giants take a quarterback at 3. Banks, you said that. I mean, they may not. They may go offensive line. They might. I just have this feeling that they do go after a quarterback tonight. And I think Jackson Dart is the guy that they go after. They get. But let me finish this pick real quick, and then we'll talk more about the Giants and not going after a quarterback. So the Eagles are going to make a trade offer to the Falcons. They're going to offer the 32nd overall, the 64th overall, and pick number 164. Okay? To get into the 15 spot of where Atlanta is. Watch this thing tell me it fails. Yep, it fails. Okay. I'm going to have to do this way. The Falcons trade into the Eagles. I knew I was going to have to do it one way or another because this thing works in mysterious ways. 64 and 164. It's either 164 or 161. I had it written down, but this thing does work. Believe me. We'll do 32, 64, and pick 161 for the number 15. Proposed trade. Okay, it's going to reject it. We're live too, but we're going to get the Eagles into that 15 spot because that's what I think is going to happen is the Eagles trade up to the Falcons. We're just going to do this. We'll do pick number 134 for 15. And there we go. We got accepted. I got Abdul Carter getting picked and going to Philadelphia at 15. They trade up and get the Falcons spot. There it is. Abdul Carter goes at 15 to the Eagles. Now, my last mock draft, I had the Eagles trading up to the number 11 spot. But I think the 49ers are going to be set on going after Mason Graham out of Michigan. I do. But there it is. The Falcons now move back to the 32nd spot. I got the Cardinals going after the wide receiver out of Arizona, Terry McMillan. The Bengals at 17 are going to go after an edge rusher or a linebacker. They're going to take Jalen Walker out of Georgia. The Seahawks and the Texans, they end up making a trade. Okay, this is where I think the Texans trade up and go into the draft sooner. They're going to trade with Seattle, and they're going to trade the 25th pick overall with the 18th, and then they are also going to give the Seahawks 58 and 89. Now watch this not work. This better work. It worked every other time. There we go. And the Texans move up to number 18. And that is where they take offensive guard Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State to help beef up their offensive line a little bit. Okay. At number 19, we got the Buccaneers, but hold on. There's going to be another trade. This time it's going to be the Packers trading up to the Buccaneers. They're going to give the Buccaneers the 23rd pick overall. They are also going to give the Buccaneers the 87th and the 124. Now watch this thing not work for me again. I might have to put that number 54. There we go. It accepted. The Packers move up. They're going to go after the cornerback that they want to pick up, and that is the safety, Malachi Starks out of Georgia. I think the Packers move up to 19 so they could take the safety, Malachi Starks, out of Georgia. The Broncos are going to be at number 20, and they're going to be looking for a running back. I think they take Trevion Henderson out of Ohio State. And here it is. The Steelers pick is up at 21, and this is what I mean. Is in my other mock drafts, people would probably be asking me, Mike, how does Shedeur Sanders fall to the Steelers? Right here. I just did it for you guys live. This is how Shedeur Sanders falls to the Steelers at 21. Shedeur Sanders to the Steelers at 21, right there live. The Chargers are going to be looking to get a tight end. They're going to take Mason Taylor out of LSU, and then the Buccaneers pick is up, and they go after the linebacker Jihad Campbell out of Alabama. Yeah, they could have taken the linebacker at the 18 spot. They could have, but hey, the Texans wanted to move up to make sure and reassure that they get the offensive lineman that they needed. And that's that. The Vikings are at 24. I think they're going to go after the next best safety on the board in Nick Amanawari out of South Carolina. And then the Seahawks pick is up at 25 after trading back. They're going to get the first center off the board in Jarrett Wilson out of Georgia. Okay. Now, there was no more, there is actually one more trade after this, so be ready. This is where things get tricky, okay? I'm going to say this right now. There is going to be one final trade in this thing, but when I simulated this before I went live, I didn't get the pick for that 32, okay? It did it itself, so hopefully it lets me pick. If not, I will let you guys know who I think will go at 32. But at number 26, the Rams will stick around in their spot. They're going to take the next best linebacker on the board in Carson Schlesinger out of UCLA. The Ravens are going to take the next center off the board, and that is going to be Seth McLaughlin out of Ohio State to help their offensive line. The Lions at 28 are going to take the next best edge rusher because they do need help with their edge rushers in Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. I got the Commanders taking the next best edge rusher on the board, and Mike Green out of Marshall. The Bills are going to take the next cornerback off the board in Jahdae Barron. I got the Chiefs taking an offensive tackle in Josh Simmons out of Ohio State at number 31. And then we get to the 32nd pick. Okay. The 32nd pick, the Falcons will be on the board. They don't make a pick. But this is where I think a trade happens. Okay. Now, if you go and look, Mikael Williams out of Georgia is still on the board. This is who I think gets picked at 32. Mikael Williams. Okay. But what happens is the Eagles come in and they make another deal with the Falcons. Okay. So what they end up giving the Falcons is pick number 96. Pick number 161 and pick number 168 for the 32nd pick overall. Propose the trade. Now, in my mock draft, that when I did this before, this worked. We're going to do this one more time. This is what happens when you're live. We'll do the 96, 161, and 164. There we go. For 32, propose. Okay. Well, anyways, the Eagles trade back in at 32, and they take Mikael Williams, the linebacker out of Georgia. And there's my live mock draft. So Mikael Williams will end up going to the Eagles. And you look at the final board. So the Eagles will take Abdul Carter at 15, Mikael Williams at 32 after trading with the Falcons twice, and everything else sits. That is my final mock draft. There it is, guys. If you want to check out my other mock drafts, go over to YouTube. You can check out my first mock draft, or my second mock draft that I did. The 2.0 is over on the Huddle Hub Pod YouTube right now at the Huddle Hub Pod. All right, so we got Banks in the chat right now saying, sorry, Mike, Giants take Carter at 3 and trade back into round 1 late and take Jackson Dart. I mean, here's the thing, Banks, is that's the great thing about tonight. Tonight, anything can happen. Am I disagreeing with you that Abdul Carter can get picked by the Giants? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I can agree with this happening. The Giants trading back in to get Dart after picking Abdul Carter. I can see that. I can see that happening. I can. I could. And when you look at the needs of teams, I mean, the Giants right now, the Giants right now don't look too bad on the edge rusher position. They don't. They have a pretty good looking defense. It's just all about getting that defense in form. And plus, you got to have an offense to do things. The offense was a mess. The running back position looked a little promising last year. It did. It did. Their quarterback position was a mess. I think they have a little bit more of an improvement with Russ. I do. But how much of an improvement? That's going to be the question. That's going to be the question. And I'm an Eagles fan. Banks, this is an Eagles fan saying this stuff, okay? You want to record this? I'm cool with that. Record it. Tell all your friends, look at this Eagles fan hyping up the Giants. Hey, I got to be unbiased here. I do. I'm not just going to sit here and shit talk teams because I'm an Eagles fan. I'm going to talk fair about other teams because it's you guys, the viewers, that are fans of these teams. So I'm going to talk positive about teams. I am. I will sit here and talk positive about the Cowboys, the Giants, the Commanders. I will. Because it's for you guys. This show is for you guys, the fans. That's what we're here for, is you guys. Not for us to sit here and hype up our teams. It's for you guys. And we appreciate you being here. So much. And we're going to be here for the next 5 hours or so. Because we are soon going to get to the watch-along version of the live stream here. In about 10 minutes, we're going to start the live stream version. But Banks, in order to be here for the watch-along, you got to head over to the Huddle Hub Podcast Twitch channel. Because that is where it is exclusively happening. We're going to cut the stream here on YouTube at about 10 minutes. And then we are going to be live exclusively on the Huddle Hub Podcast Twitch channel for the watch along. But that's it for my mock draft. If you want to check out my other mock draft and anything else going on here on the Huddle Podcast, just head over to all our socials, TikTok, X, and YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. That's where you can find all of our socials. And my 2.0 mock draft is on X, YouTube, and on TikTok. So it's all over the place. My 1.0 mock draft is over on TikTok and X. So if you want to check out my first mock draft, it's there as well. So definitely, if you want to check those out, go for it. Would definitely appreciate it. Make sure you hit that follow button and over on YouTube, the subscribe button. It's totally free to subscribe on YouTube. So, but that's it for the Huddle Hub Podcast, news version, episode version. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. We did the final mock draft. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut the stream. I'm going to take about a 10, 15 minute break. And then I'm going to come right back over on the Huddle Hub Podcast Twitch channel for night one, round one of the watch along tonight. Okay, guys. So I was going to stay live and just go right through here, but I'm going to take about a 10, 15 minute break. I'm going to get myself situated here, make sure I have some stuff here for the watch along, and then we'll go live over on the Twitch channel. And that is over on Twitch, twitch.tv/the Huddle Hub Podcast. Okay. And our logo that's right at the top here, right at the top, you'll see that logo. That's us. All right, guys. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream. Oh, and if you guys want to follow me on social media, Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitch, MetalMike714. That's where you can find me personally. I also post stuff, all my personal stuff for the shows, whether it's here on the Huddle Hub Podcast, for the Table Spot on Monday nights, or for the Boom on Wednesday nights. Okay, I post stuff on my personal as well. Okay, but that's where you can find me on all the socials. Guys, I'm going to cut the stream here real quick, and then over on the Huddle Hub Podcast Twitch channel is where the exclusive watch along is going to be. I'm going to get things set up, give myself about 10 or 15 minutes to get ready, and then we are going to get ready for the watch along. Night 1, round 1 of the draft. All right, guys. So I'll see you guys over on the Twitch channel. For those of you who may not be joining us for the watch along, be good to each other, be kind to each other, take care of each other, be patient with each other. All right. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. 15 minutes, guys. We'll see you over on the Twitch channel.